Okay, I need everyone to stop because Iran just put a Bitcoin toll on the world's oil supply. A nation under some of the most severe sanctions in human history built a toll booth at the choke point that controls 20% of the world's oil supply. It runs on Bitcoin. The payment window is 3 seconds. The late fee is getting blowed up. And the country with the most powerful navy in human history can't turn it off. I have been sitting in this chair. Well, we got rid of the old one. I had to get a new one. But I've been telling you for years that Bitcoin would eventually be used by nation states, not because it was popular, but because they had no other choice. I said it would be used by countries that were locked out of the dollar system. I said it would have to be used to settle real value between real adversaries without any bank's permission. And now, a sanctioned nation installed a Bitcoin toll booth at the world's most important oil checkpoint. And they're collecting. The numbers are in, and it's more bullish than you could imagine. Welcome back, I'm Rustin, and it would appear that today is the most important Bitcoin story in the history of this channel. So let's get into it. Send it.
They're creating a secondary economy in the world, totally independent of the United States. We won't have to talk about sanctions in 5 years because there'll be so many countries transacting in currencies other than the dollar that we won't have the ability to sanction them.
All right, let me set the scene because some of you have seen the headline about this. But I don't think the scale has landed yet. The Strait of Hormuz. Roughly 20% of the world's oil flows through this waterway. 20%. Before this conflict, 130 to 135 ships were crossing every single day. Now, under Iran's new rules, only 10 to 15 ships can transit per day. That's a 90% reduction in capacity at the single most strategically important oil checkpoint on the planet. Here's how the new system works. Tankers must email Iranian authorities in advance with full cargo details. They submit to background checks. They follow designated routes along Iran's coastline. They receive approval from Iran's Supreme National Security Council. And then, when it's time to pay, they get a window of only a few seconds to transmit the payment in Bitcoin. A few seconds. Any vessel attempting unauthorized transit, quote, will be destroyed. So just to recap, Iran just built a toll booth, a Bitcoin toll booth. It runs on Bitcoin. It has a few second payment window and a consequence clause. That's genuinely one of the most metal things I've ever reported on in my life. Now, mainstream finance is covering the oil angle. Andre Gic just dropped a video that got 1.5 million views on the dollar replacement angle. And it's a great video, I watched it. But here's what every general finance channel misses. They don't go deep on the Bitcoin part. They don't understand what it means that Iran specifically chose Bitcoin. Like Ralphie on Valentine, I choose you. Not the Yuan, not gold, not their own currency. We've seen what happened to that Iran currency. It's pretty bad. Bitcoin, that's the whole story. And we're going to tell it. Let's do some 10th grade math because the numbers are absolutely insane. And I want to make sure you feel them. Iran's toll, $1 per barrel of oil. Empty tankers pass for free. Loaded crude tankers, $1 per barrel. The largest crude oil tankers in the world carry approximately 3 million barrels. That's $3 million per ship in Bitcoin. At the conservative $1 per barrel rate using pre-war traffic flows, Iran would be collecting roughly 20 million per day in Bitcoin. That's approximately 281 Bitcoin per day. Now here's where I really need you to lock in. The entire Bitcoin network mines approximately 450 Bitcoin per day, total, global. That is the complete new supply entering the entire market from every miner on Earth. One geopolitical toll booth could theoretically absorb 62% of all new Bitcoin supply every single day. And there's a more aggressive number floating around that puts the per ship toll at 2 million. At that rate, with pre-war traffic levels 130 ships per day, Iran would be accumulating 3,611 Bitcoin per day over 108,000 Bitcoin per month. That is 8 times the total monthly mining supply every month through one toll booth. I think I saw somebody on Twitter describe this as a sanctioned nation building a Bitcoin treasury through a toll booth, which is accurate. That is what's happening. Now, a quick note on the numbers. The specific figures are still being verified and reported. Some sources say $1 a barrel. Some say 2 million flat per ship. The exact math will get refined, but the mechanism is confirmed. The Bitcoin payment demand is confirmed, and even at the conservative number, 62% of new supply from one choke point. This is the most significant supply-side Bitcoin story since the halving, since MicroStrategy, since the ETFs, and they alone could accumulate 1 million Bitcoin in approximately 1 year. And you're not bullish? And here's a detail I love. Iran didn't just wake up last week and decide to accept Bitcoin. Bloomberg reported that over the last 5 years, Iran has been using Bitcoin mining as a sanctions escape hatch. At their peak, they were responsible for 6 to 8% of global hash rate.
Countries like Iran, for example, last 5 years, they've been using Bitcoin mining as a way to get around sanctions. So they almost hit about 6 to 8% of global mining. If you look at chain analysis and Chainlink's data, was global mining. About 6 to 8% of that was Iran, and almost about 70% of the Iranian miners were owned by the IRGC. So they were using mining as a way of getting around sanctions for a while, right? So there are countries like that. There are countries like Russia that have used stable coins and crypto tokens as a way to get around sanctions. But on the flip side, there have been countries like Lebanon, which unfortunately is caught up in this war, decimated. GDP is down 40%, 300 or so banks are closed. I mean, forget about you cannot find a teller. The whole building is being blown out, right?
6 to 8% of the entire network from a country under some of the most aggressive sanctions in history. They were turning cheap, subsidized Iranian energy that Western sanctions couldn't touch, directly into unconfiscatable digital money quietly for 5 years. The toll booth isn't the beginning. It's the graduation. Let me address the obvious question. Why Bitcoin? Why not Yuan? Iran has a massive oil relationship with China. Why not just demand Yuan? And this is where I want you to pay close attention, because this is the part that the mainstream finance channels literally can't explain because they don't understand Bitcoin. No bank can freeze Bitcoin funds. No intermediary can censor it. No foreign government can seize it mid-transaction. Bitcoin represents something entirely different. A neutral, permissionless settlement layer that exists outside traditional geopolitical control. Iran has been locked out of SWIFT, the global banking messaging system, since 2012. They've had oil tankers seized, accounts frozen, gold held hostage in foreign vaults. And then, in 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine, and the United States and Europe cut Russia from SWIFT almost overnight. A nuclear power, financially neutered in 48 hours. Every nation on Earth took note, especially every nation that thought we might be next. So why not Yuan? Because if China controls the settlement currency, every nation using it is now dependent on China's goodwill. If China has a bad week and wants to freeze your payment, they can. You just traded one dependency for another. Bitcoin solves the trust problem because nobody controls it. Let me give you the most quoted line from this whole story because I think it deserves to be said out loud right now. Bitcoin is for enemies. It's almost like Bitcoin is for enemies because no state controls it and no state can stop another state from using it. Think about that. Iran and the United States, genuine adversaries, can both transact on the same network. Neither can shut the other out. Neither can freeze the other's funds. The protocol doesn't discriminate by nationality. by political system, by religion, or by how many sanctions you're under. And when stablecoins came up as an alternative, someone put it perfectly. If stablecoins can be frozen by the US, and they can, they've done it before, then neutral settlement matters. Bitcoin is the obvious candidate. Again, Iran chose the obvious candidate. The yield on Bitcoin is freedom. Okay, history lesson. And I promise this is not boring because it's about to explain everything that's happening in the news right now. It starts in 1971. Nixon closes the gold window. The dollar is no longer backed by gold, it's just paper. So the obvious question becomes, what gives it value? Enter Henry Kissinger in 1974. And this is genuinely wild when you think about it. Kissinger cuts a deal with the Saudis. A simple deal. Saudi Arabia prices its oil exclusively in US dollars. In return, the US provides military protection for the Saudi regime. Now, because every country on earth needs oil, and oil is priced in dollars, every country on earth needs to hold dollars. The dollar is the oil. This is the petrodollar system, and it's held together for 52 years. Here's what that meant in practice. America could print dollars, export them to the world, and get real goods in return. We got cheap oil, cheap imports, and we could run deficits that would have destroyed any other country. But here's the thing that the establishment never puts out on the front page. The entire system depends on one promise. The United States military guarantees safe, free passage through global shipping lanes. That is the deal. That has always been the deal. You hold our currency, we protect your trade routes. Iran just demonstrated in front of every nation on earth that the United States cannot guarantee that. 130 ships a day down to 10. Oil executives in a panic. Trump begging 7 nations to send warships. The U.S. asking for help to keep a waterway open that it promised to keep open. And all while that is happening, Iran is quietly stacking Bitcoin. If Iran gets away with this, if this becomes normalized, you have the blueprint for every sanctioned nation, for every BRICS member worried about future financial exclusion, for every country that's been told, play by our rules or lose access. The blueprint now says, just use Bitcoin. Oh, and one more detail I nearly forgot to mention because it is chef's kiss irony. Trump has apparently floated a joint venture to share the toll revenue with Iran rather than opposing the toll outright. So the American president is considering partnering with a sanctioned nation on a Bitcoin toll booth that undermines the dollar. I don't have a joke for that one. It's just the news. All right, this is where we get into the future. And I want to be clear, I'm not going to speculate wildly. I'm going to walk you through the game theory because Bitcoin is game theory crystallized into code. And this situation plays out in a very predictable way. Step 1, Iran demonstrates that a sanctioned nation can build sovereign Bitcoin wealth through a geographic choke point. This works. The world is watching. Step 2, every other nation in a similar position draws the same conclusion. Venezuela, North Korea, Belarus, every country that's been financially excluded, they now have a proven playbook. You don't need to wait for the UN. You don't need to wait for BRICS to design a new currency. You find leverage and you use Bitcoin. Step 3, BRICS members who aren't currently sanctioned start asking, could we? Could we be sanctioned? Could we be next? Do we want to be dependent on a system that can be turned off like a light switch? What's our exit strategy? Step 4, and here's the beautiful chaotic irony. The United States already made Bitcoin a strategic reserve asset. America is officially, allegedly, accumulating Bitcoin. So now you have the world's largest economy allegedly accumulating Bitcoin as a reserve asset, and its primary adversary in this conflict also accumulating Bitcoin as a reserve asset through a toll booth America can't shut down. Both sides of the most significant geopolitical conflict in decades are racing towards the same asset. When the stakes are real, Bitcoin gets chosen. Bitcoin is increasingly emerging as the global Schelling point for money. A Schelling point is the solution people naturally coordinate toward when they can't communicate or trust each other. You need something neutral, something no one controls, something that doesn't pick sides. Before this week, that was a theoretical argument. Now it has a data point. A real nation under real pressure chose Bitcoin over every other option. And the game theory says the moment even one significant player moves, the landscape shifts. Everyone else has to recalculate. The first significant player just moved. Welcome to the Petrosat era. Welcome to the beginning. All right, let's take about 30 seconds here because I need to diagnose something. For years, Dr. Dante talked about this. We've had financial commentators, economists, central bankers, various credentialed journalists, people telling us Bitcoin has no real world use cases. It's rat poison, it's for criminals, nation states would never use it. The diagnosis is clear. Bitcoin derangement syndrome, stage 4. Please find your nearest exit and GFY. Here's the treatment. Watch a sanctioned nation build a sovereign treasury through a toll booth using Bitcoin at the world's most strategically important oil passage, while simultaneously the United States government holds Bitcoin in reserves. I genuinely hope some of these people are watching this right now, not because I want to be mean, though I do, but because this moment, Iran, Hormuz, it's the cure. Hormuz just made Bitcoin easier to understand. That is an actual quote from this week, and it's accurate. The most complicated asset class just got a 2-sentence use case that even a central banker can follow. The US dollar system requires trust and military might just to function. Both of those are now visibly shakeable. Bitcoin requires neither. That's the whole pitch, demonstrated in real time at an oil toll booth. So beautiful. But okay, let me bring this back to you because I know some of you are excited, some of you anxious, and that's the right answer, both of those things. Here's what this means in practice. Number 1, self-custody is not optional. The time to visit the Bitcoin way is now, because if Bitcoin is now being used as a geopolitical settlement layer, and it is, then you need to understand that the same property that makes it work for Iran makes it work for you. Bitcoin held in self-custody cannot be frozen, seized, restricted. Bitcoin held on an exchange, that exchange is one government letter away from freezing your account. Iran can't hold Bitcoin in a US bank, but they can hold it in self-custody. You should too. Hardware wallet, your keys, your coins. The Bitcoin way sets you up with ironclad self-custody. Proper hardware, your own node, full on-chain verification. So your Bitcoin is actually yours, not the bank's, not an exchange's, yours. Their team guides you through the entire setup, step by step, until you've mastered it. Oh, they can help you with privacy phones, Plan B residency, and so much more. No single point of failure standing between you and your generational wealth. Book a free 30-minute consultation right now using that QR code or the link in the show notes and begin your journey towards Bitcoin sovereignty today. The Bitcoin way. Number 2, this is not the top. I want to say this clearly. A sanctioned nation just validated Bitcoin as a sovereign settlement currency in front of the entire world. The wave that follows this, nation states competing to accumulate before the supply gets tighter. The petrodollar losing its monopoly on the global oil trade. That wave is building, and you want to be positioned before it arrives. Number 3, stack. Don't panic. Don't FOMO into a leveraged position. Don't go on margin. Dollar cost average. Stack sats. Hold your own keys. The game theory of this moment is working in your favor over the long time horizon. The yield on Bitcoin is freedom, and freedom just got a real world demand surge from an unexpected direction. Stack accordingly. Oh, just in, we have a breaking hyperinflation alert. Ladies and gentlemen, what did this war cost so far? Well, it cost about 5 weeks, 31 billion, 13 dead, 300 plus wounded. In short, they're going to debase you into poverty. So if you ever need liquidity, possibly just to buy groceries in 2026. You can make loans to yourself and pay them off on your own time. Here's something most Bitcoin holders never figure out until it's too late. You're sitting on wealth you can't touch without selling, and selling means taxes. Taxes mean bombs, and selling means exiting your position. Selling means you lose. Ledn fixes that. Bitcoin-backed loans. You keep your stack, you get cash, and you repay whenever you want. Zero penalties, zero monthly payments, and right now, Ledn just dropped their lowest rates ever. No fine print, no complexity. The larger your loan, the lower your rate, and you see every number up front before you even apply. Here's why I trust them personally. Your Bitcoin is custodied at all times, never lent out for interest. You get auto top-up protection, LTV alerts, and partial repayment options. So you stay in control through any market condition. That's not marketing. That's $10 billion in loans across 8 years with a perfect track record. Every market cycle, not one client's funds have been lost. Don't choose between a great rate and the safety of your Bitcoin. Ledn gives you both. Scan the QR or use the link below. Head to ledn.io today. All right, now here's what I want you to take away from today. A war happened. And that war, whatever its causes, whatever its consequences, accidentally proved something that Bitcoin maximalists have been saying since Satoshi published the white paper. When trust breaks down between nations, when the dollar system can't deliver on its promises, when a country needs to move value across borders that adversaries want to block, Bitcoin works. Not crypto, not stable coins. Those get frozen with a government letter and a phone call. Not gold. You can't send gold at the speed of light and receive it in seconds. Bitcoin. The Strait of Hormuz just made the world's most expensive Bitcoin lesson. And the students this time are not retail investors. They're governments. Oh, wait. Are you kidding right now? You came this far? Look at our likes!
3 or 4 times, maybe.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
It would also appear that people in government are building bunkers and preparing for Armageddon, despite the ceasefire and the economy allegedly booming. Yeah, booming. You may want to as well. And our friends over at SAT123 have got you covered. Bitcoin protects your wealth, but it won't keep you connected when the grid goes down. SAT123 fixes that. Satellite phones, Starlink kits, Faraday bags and backpacks built for people who take sovereignty seriously. Use code SIMPLY at sat123.com for 15% off. That's sat123.com, code SIMPLY for 15% off. Go, do it now. Pay the like toll. Subscribe, give us a pamp, and share this with someone who still thinks Bitcoin has no real-world use case. Because apparently, it's the preferred settlement currency of nation-states trying to build sovereign wealth while dodging the most powerful military on Earth. Pretty solid use case. I'm Rustin. The yield on Bitcoin is freedom. I hope you all have an amazing weekend. Love you guys. Catch you next time.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, you.